Most of you guys in this room would probably recognize each of the four faces that we've got, that I've got. One of the reasons why everybody knows them and actually likes them, and many of us aspire to be them, is because they've done a fantastic job in championing their brand to the bigger world. I'm in fact going to spend the next 20 minutes talking about future CEOs. Hopefully most of you guys are sitting in the back of the room. Guys who are going to run companies that are bigger, better, and faster than any of the companies that these guys have run before. And when you guys get into that mode or get into that challenge of how do you build businesses bigger and faster and better than the guys down here, one of the things you're going to have to do is to champion the brand within the organization, which is not done as frequently or as often as one should. The question is, you've become CEO of the company. What can you do to focus, align, and motivate the entire organization to build a business? And the answer is you build and champion the brand vision. Now, let's just talk about what you do organization. What does building the brand vision mean? Now, brand visioning basically boils down to you've got to, as a CEO, define the business's future reputation. Okay, so when anybody asks you what is branding, it's not even about reputation management. And really speaking, as a CEO, you're the man or the woman who's in charge of the business's reputation. Your business has a good reputation, you make a lot of money. Your business has a lousy reputation, you lose a lot of money. It's fairly simple. So to come under reputation, there are four types of reputations, broadly speaking. What do you do better than your competitors, which is what is more functional? Why should I believe you, which is the rational reasons to believe a reputation? Why should I believe that you deserve that reputation? There are emotional reputations. How does the customer feel when they're using your brand? And how does the customer see when they're using your brand? If you drive a Porsche, it says certain things about you. If you wear Bata shoes, it says something totally different about you. So those are the sort of emotional reputations that a business can build. And lastly, the business builds a reputation about culture. Okay? What is the culture of the business, and does that attract more talent? So the first thing is, your first job as a CEO is to figure out what is the desired reputation of your business. Now, just as an example, I'm just using words over here just to make the point. You could say that, listen, my business is going to promise to do, it's going to promise to have a reputation for being more enterprising than my competitors. Okay, that's fairly simple, it's quite understandable. Why believe me? Because I have responsive staff. My staff responds to you quickly and efficiently. That's why we're enterprising. Okay? And how does the customer feel when they use your brand? We want our customers to feel valued, and we want them to be seen as experts. So we are enterprising because of our responsive staff, and our customers will feel valued when they work with us, when they deal with us, when they buy us, and they will be seen as experts when people know that they're users. And lastly, culture. Unconventional practices have just taken something that fits the vision. And once you've got these four questions answered, as a CEO, you have defined your business's future reputation. So your first task is to actually come up with these answers, whatever they mean. Okay? Because that's your vision. That's your desired reputation. That's the first thing you do as a CEO. Now comes the slightly more controversial part, because a lot of CEOs already do this. The second part for future CEOs, in the next 20 years, in the next 30 years, I see future CEOs actually building the brand vision, or building the brand vision, by appointing directors of reputation. It's not been done so far as yet. But if you've got a director of finance, or you've got a director of human resources, or you've got a director of marketing, why can't you have directors of different reputations you want to build? If you want to have a reputation for being an enterprising organization, why can't you put somebody in charge and say, listen, not only is it your job is to build our reputation as an enterprising organization. Reputation. We're going to go out there, we're going to ask people what a reputation is. And when everybody starts saying, yep, they're an enterprising organization, you start getting a bonus for building that reputation. Now, when we actually propose this to we proposed this to 2 or 3 companies in the past, the first thing the CEO says is, Rahul, listen, I've already got 15 board members, or I've already got 25 board members. I can't take on more board members. Okay, we can't just keep expanding the number of board members. Okay, we can't be very senior, the senior most people in our company, we can't just keep expanding that pool indefinitely. So we came back and said, well, why don't you actually give people two responsibilities? So not only you're vice president of finance, but you're also vice president of making customers feel valued. Okay, so not only are you going to give us all the financial, give us all the financial information that we need to manage our finances, but you're also going to be responsible for building the reputation across our customer base for feeling valued. Or similarly, the vice president of HR could very easily be given, in addition to all your HR responsibilities of recruitment and training and compensation and benefits, in addition to all of that, you've got to be responsible for building the reputation that we have responsive staff in the marketplace. So appointing directors of reputation is something I expect a lot of future CEOs to start doing, because ultimately, if you've got a good reputation, your business is good. If you've got a lousy reputation, if you've got no reputation, your business doesn't work. It's all about reputation. It's the oldest thing in the world. So that is the second thing I would recommend to future CEOs. The third thing, in terms of building the brand vision, is of course, once you've decided what you want to be, and you've appointed people to execute that or to develop those reputations, you need to figure out a way to measure that. And that's really important. So you can measure how your reputation is progressing with your customers, your consumers, your customers, your shareholders, your stakeholders, and obviously in wider audiences like the government or foreign governments. What is the reputation? For example, Rand Banksy has a certain reputation because they keep getting sued in the US courts. Okay, non-stop every time. So getting people to understand, A, these are the reputations we want to build. 2, these are the senior people who are going to take responsibility for building these reputations, something that's never been done before. And 3, figuring out ways to measure how well you're doing in terms of building your reputation are the 3 things a future CEO can start doing to champion the brand within the organization. So that's the organizational side. Now what can the CEO do personally? Because the CEO, of course, we set these systems up. What does he do personally? And I've got 5 ideas over here. The first thing that a CEO should do is to focus on income. Now, when you look at companies like Microsoft or Apple, you find that these guys pride themselves as organizations as having the largest number of millionaire employees. Okay? The companies that do get it right do focus on the incomes of their managers and encourage them to really become millionaires. So again, all future CEOs must have not only corporate income, shareholder income, and their own income in focus, they must also have their stakeholder income. The reason I say this is because income, when you get income, when you get big income, you gain confidence. That's what income does for you. You become confident, self-confident about your points of view, your way forward, how you want to deal with problems. And confidence is 80% of the battle. So income drives confidence, and of course your confidence kills the uncertainty that plagues senior people who are doing well. And lastly, from a CEO's point of view, when you start paying lots of people very well, they have to compete with each other. And that's where income becomes a war of the minds. And that's a great thing for a CEO, because he's got the brightest people constantly trying to outwit each other, essentially because they're all confident and they all make a lot of money. So that's the first thing you want to be able to do. Kill uncertainty, give people money, lots of it. Of course, you can only do this if you're successful. But this is how you create success, chicken or egg. This is how you start creating success. The second thing that you do as a CEO of the future is that you have to behave with integrity. So we've had a long history of guys at the top of companies who behave without ethics. And one of the things I strongly recommend is that future CEOs have to behave with integrity. Integrity is the basis of trust. That's where it all starts making sense. If you behave with integrity, you start gaining people's trust. Through trust, you build relationships. From relationships, you build business. From businesses, you build organizations. And when you have organizations that are working together with integrity, you can actually start focusing and delivering your vision or your desired reputation. The last point over here is actually when a large number of independent organizations across, let's say, a nation start working with integrity and ethics, is that the entire nation starts getting a reputation of integrity and ethics. Something where we, not only in India, lack having integrity and ethics, but the same holds good for Europe or America. So if I was talking to a European audience right now, I'd still be talking about ethics. So, if there is corruption in your ethics, please go ahead and start behaving properly, and you'll find not only does your company do well, but so does your country. The third thing you've got to do is you've got to inspire. What you really have to be doing in the future is inspiring positive values. Positive personal values, positive professional values. And when you start inspiring people with positive personal values and professional values, you can also inspire them with brand values, your beliefs as a brand, your reputation that you're trying to build as a brand. Fundamentally, when you're talking about inspiration, especially from the CEO's perspective, everybody who works for the CEO loves to hear CEO stories, personal stories from the CEO, not about, but from the CEO. And when the CEO starts telling stories about how different people in the organization have done well in endorsing the brand values or endorsing the personal values that the CEO is fond of, that brings alive the brand vision. So ultimately, when you start inspiring the masses in your business, not only are you looking after your reputation as a chief reputation officer, but strangely enough, you also have to become the chief storytelling officer. Both. Because that is one of the most powerful tools a CEO has to inspire the people who work, 100, 200 people who work around. They die for this stories. Fourth, you've got to lead internal communications. Okay? All CEOs know what shareholder communications. Every annual general meeting, they're up there on the stage like this, telling people how they've done well for themselves and how they're going to add extra dividends or the stock price has gone up. They've also, of course, they're very good with consumer communication, advertising. Look at all the great advertising out there. It's got the CEO stamp, whether it's Apple's 1984, or it's Think Different, or it's Indigo. The CEOs stand up and they're very good at communicating to the broad world. But then you go to the CEO and say, wow, you're spending, how much did you say you're spending on advertising? $300 billion a year. So how much do you spend on communicating within your staff? And there's usually a sort of fairly embarrassed pin drop silence because A, the guy doesn't know the number, and even if he does, it's so minuscule, it's embarrassing to compare it to what you're spending to talk to consumers. So the first thing is that, okay, fine, you guys don't have the budget, so first boost up the budget. The second thing is that you actually go and talk to people in the business and you say, well, what do you think of the internal communication that happens, the new internal newsletters, the internal emails that keep taking place? And most people will turn around to you and say, they're irrelevant, they're boring, it comes in on a Friday evening, you just dump it straight into the wastepaper basket, those are really boring. This is where I think the future CEOs of the world are going to have to start figuring out exactly what content they want to communicate to the masses. And what they should be communicating are what I call vision bullets. How people are making the vision happen, or how people are destroying the vision that we're trying to create. Both positive and negative stories. This is what you do, this is what you don't do with regards to the reputation and the future we're trying to build for our business. Of course, CEOs today have a much wider set of internal personal media. When I was growing up, we certainly didn't have Facebook or Twitter or even email, actually, when I first got my first job. We didn't have email at that time. But today the CEO has a whole bunch of personal interactive media that he can use or she can use to interact and communicate with their staff. And that's something that you guys should all use. And the second thing is, of course, the more standard media of posters and newsletters and all of that stuff. All of these media, both personal interactive as well as the standard media, is at the disposal of the CEO. And you guys have to start using this stuff to communicate effectively about the future of the business rather than making stuff that people just put in the basement basket without even looking at. And last is to focus on ITs. Okay? And what I mean by this is, we all know CEOs bet on people, not on strategy. Strategies change all the time. People don't. Okay? Your team stays the same, your strategy can change based on what competition is doing, based on what the government is doing, and so on and so forth. Okay? So you start betting on people, and what I mean, and betting on individuals, and that's what I mean by the I. I stands for individual. Okay? Start investing in people, and when you start investing in people, you start creating more talent, you start creating celebrities within your business, people who've done the impossible, people who've taken market share from 8% to 48%. Those guys are stars in the business because you've actually invested in them, you've trained them, you've built them up. Those talented people will attract other talented people. It's a bit like a football club. Okay, it's a bit like Manchester United used to be in the time when David Beckham used to be around. And David Beckham would be the first guy at Man U, and because of him, you get a whole bunch of other celebrities, individuals who are talented and good at what they did, come and join Man U. It's the same thing with your team. The more you invest in people, the better people start joining you. You've got to evangelize your vision, your reputation, your desired reputation. Because we all know, good reputation, good money, bad reputation, bad. And I hope that some of you guys out there at the back who are going to be future CEOs of businesses that are going to be much larger than Apple or Microsoft. When you're sitting in your positions and you're sitting on top of your throne and looking at your empire, I hope you turn around and think that the first time I thought about all this stuff was today, and it was that day when I attended the BITS TEDx. So, thank you very much.